Oh, and we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Branders Magazine, Talking with Branders podcast for a Fireside Friday chat live. Usually we should have pizza because it's Fridays and I love pizza, but we're not having any pizza today. Although my man over here that I'm joined with, Steve O, the CMO whisperer, he's in Philly, and I bet he could tell us some of the best pizza joints in Philly right now. Is it Angelo's? Is that throwing it down?
Oh, it's up there. It's up there for sure. And look, we could spend a half hour talking cheesesteaks as well. So
Well, we're gonna do that next time. But today, everyone, we're talking Super Bowl ads and Steve, for those of the people who live under a rock and don't know who the hell you are, I don't know how. I'll let everybody know who you are.
thank you, Stephen. First of all, it's great to be here. So I'm Steve Olensky, former Forbes writer, former creative director at agencies, former comms director at Oracle. I really run the gamut between advertising and branding and journalism in my career. It's been a whirlwind. I've had the pleasure and honor of meeting incredible people, yourself included, as well as many, many, many CMOs, which is where the name CMO Whisperer came from. It was given to me, bestowed to me by a dear friend who was the CMO of Walmart at the time. And I've just been blessed to have an incredible career, and I cannot wait to talk Super Bowl.
As the whisperer himself, I'm going to ask the big question. Are Super Bowl ads worth it anymore? I mean, you're spending $6-7 million on placement, not talent, not creative, not agency fees. Like, what the hell? Like, that's a lot of money?
It's a great question. And I know, CMOs, they battle with this every year, right? No matter if they've never done a Super Bowl ad or if they've done 10 straight Super Bowls or somewhere in between. And it always comes back to me, I'm going to keep it simple guy anyway. And you go, okay, let's figure out what it's going to cost, soup to nuts. Who are we going to reach? How are we going to measure it? Right. And then go, is the money better spent elsewhere? And as you and I were just talking off air, PepsiCo sat out this year's Super Bowl. I think they did a regional spot, which I think we're going to talk about, right?
Yep.
But that is significantly less expensive, obviously. So what PepsiCo did, and Todd Kaplan, their CMO, was talking about this on LinkedIn just today, was did a lot of things on the ground, literally, and online, on the ground in Vegas, but online, to kind of keep and stay on top of mind without having that big cost involved. And from what I can read, and I haven't read a lot about it yet, their results, but the results are amazing.
Yeah.
In terms of their cost to return, right? And I'm starting to think like, okay, when a brand like Pepsi does anything, first of all, you sit up and take notice and go, okay, how did that, whatever that is, works out? Could this be the start of something?
Yeah.
Could this be the start of brands of any size, let alone a PepsiCo going, wait a minute, they spent X and got Y, and they sat out the Super Bowl, but they still benefited from the, quote, Super Bowl.
Right.
And all that goes with that. I think it's going to strike that. I know it's going to cause brands to sit up and start rethinking their strategy. It's not to say, look, it's not going to go to the other extreme where no one's going to advertise it. Of course not. Right. But I think brands are going to really have a deeper kind of in the new world kind of thing. Is it better? Is the money better spent elsewhere? What do you think?
I mean, it's a more integrated approach where you have like multiple touch points out there and you're able to engage with multiple different people at multiple times. And it also makes me pause and say, was Vegas, like, how smart on Pepsi to know that, hey, we can take over Las Vegas with all the digital out of home, all the lights, all the sounds. We could do the Sphere. We could do everything, spend less money than on an ad, but we reap the fringe benefits for a while. And, I think like you, Steve, I think like brands are going to be getting smarter with how they approach Super Bowl. I don't think it's not going to be abandoned, but it might be regional spots
Mhm.
in markets that have high sales velocity or markets that are strategic to their business goals for that year. Plus, how do we activate on the ground? How do we activate with a stunt or something like that? And I think that might be the winning formula moving forward, because to see an ad one time, like the Squarespace ad, it had
Mhm.
aliens. It was kind of dumb. It was kind of predictable, but like that was it. And it kind of falls on deaf ears, I feel.
Look, the elephant in the room for any ad is who's the target, right? And if you and I are not the target, then it's not going to resonate with us. I know that's Captain Obvious, right? Like we talked about off air, the Duncan ad,
Yeah.
right? And I want to get your thoughts on that and what my thoughts on it. I can't imagine what they paid in total between the media buy and the talent alone. And I know they sold the jumpsuits or track suits over there, and they sold out. Okay, that's awesome.
But that doesn't pay for a J-Lo, a Ben Affleck, a Matt Damon, and a Tom Brady.
Correct. No matter how many tracksuits you're selling, unless you're selling for $1,000 each or some insane number, excuse me, that's not going to pay for itself. And I'm not a Duncan fan anyway. Right now, I like the ad. I thought it was funny.
Yeah,
I thought it was comical. I love Matt Damon's part in it. The satire and the deadpan kind of thing. But did it move the needle for me? No, but I'm not a Duncan fan anyway.
mm-hmm.
Right? It's really going to be interesting. Like I said, post. I almost going to coin this new phrase, post Pepsi. Right. And it also reminded me, Stephen, and another thing you and I talked off air, the famous Oreo.
Yeah.
Dunk in the dark. Right. And on my podcast, so the CMO Whisperer podcast, by the way, please look that up. Shameless plug.
Great podcast.
I spoke to the SVP of marketing for the NFL last week, Marissa Solis, and we talked about the Taylor Swift effect.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things she said to me was, we were at the ready to capitalize, right? You have to be at the ready to capitalize on something pop culture-ish that will happen. And I asked her, we brought up the Oreo thing, how Oreo didn't spend a dime on Super Bowl advertising. And I guarantee you that year, if you're not familiar, it's that whole dunk in the dark, when the lights went out in the Super Bowl. I guarantee you they got more impressions than anybody who did, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's documented. I think the data is there. The search trend and the social chatter, the social listening that happened after that made Oreo the hero. That community manager should have been promoted and given stock options.
Yes. Right. And it's that, look, you brought up something again earlier that I want to bring up here is about when Travis Kelce had his blow up with Andy Reid.
Yeah.
And you had a great idea. And I think it was Headspace, right?
Yeah, like imagine if Headspace popped in at that moment and said something along the lines of like, you should have meditated this morning. Here's a free month on us or something like that, Just so timely, so relevant.
Right, but you have to be at the ready in that moment because the moment doesn't last.
So let's go back to Pepsi real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Pepsi had the foresight to say, listen, we're in Vegas. Vegas is a blank canvas. Of course, it's going to cost money, but it's going to cost significantly less. Or I wonder if they even spent more money. Who knows? Like that would be a really interesting thing to try to unpack. Figure $10 million all in for the spot plus the talent and everything on average. Was Pepsi? Do you think their strategy was like, this is how we're going to approach Super Bowls moving forward, or was it just a Vegas phenomenon?
It's a great question. And I do think the location of the Super Bowl plays a major role.
Yeah.
Major role. I mean, the Super Bowl has been in places like Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking Jacksonville.
But it's no Vegas.
It's a far cry from Vegas, right? If it was in LA, maybe.
Yeah.
They do this. If it's in Miami, maybe they do this. A couple years ago, when my Eagles were in the Super Bowl, it was in Minnesota.
Yeah.
This isn't happening.
No.
You're not standing outside in February in Minnesota. right? So I think it's going to be on a year by year kind of, where is the Super Bowl being held? How much can I capitalize literally on the ground, right? With pop-ups and things like that versus just, doing a traditional spot,
Yeah.
So it's why we're hearing a lot of people pushing for the Super Bowl should be in Vegas every year.
I kind of might be in that camp. I kind of like that idea. But part of the heritage though of the NFL Super Bowl is the fact that it's not in one spot all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like we've kind of reached the top of the mountain with Vegas. I don't think LA doesn't have it. Miami doesn't have it. I think Miami might be second.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you're valuing them, but in terms of just availability and capabilities of outside literally the stadium, yeah. But LA, you got the star power,
You do,
right? It's just it's going to be really interesting. Again, I'll say the phrase post Pepsi, how brands look at the money they spend around a given Super Bowl.
What was your favorite ad?
Oh, it's a great question. I love the Dove ad. I have a daughter.
Dove does amazing work.
Right.
They put their purpose forward.
Exactly. And I'm sure there were cynics rolling their eyes, whatever. You get cynics about everything. But being the father of a daughter who played sports, and any time that a brand can show its human side is really big for me without being a salesy, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And Dove has proven time and again to do that, right?
Yeah.
To be very natural and organic in their messaging, right? So that ad really, really connected with me.
Yeah.
How about you?
The real Dove Real Beauty. I mean, I think every ad that they do connects with me.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the Google one was interesting, right? Talking about the new Pixel where it was the blind man. And then he sees at the end. Of course, it's predictable. You're going to get that payoff.
Yep.
But I thought it was really, here you are spending, again, $10 million. Let's just use that term, that number on an ad to make almost your whole ad blurry. Like that's a great approach, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. It took some guts to do that. But no, you're going to touch that emotional side. You just are.
Yeah.
Right. A couple other ads I liked. I love the M&M's Almost Champions ring. With Marino and Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
When the self-deprecation, right? When people make fun of themselves, that just connects with me. I love that, right? Where they're these superstars in their given fields, but they're not above making fun of themselves.
Yeah. Speaking of making fun, what you think of Arnold and Danny DeVito?
Brilliant. The neighbor, right? The State Farm, right? And the surprise twist at the end of bringing, his twins co-star back.
Totally great.
Right? Out of the blue. I loved it. Arnold's very popular. He'll always be that.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I think Arnold was in the previous year's Super Bowl with Salma Hayek, if I remember right. And I just thought it was well executed, well produced. Again, making fun, in this case, of his accent.
Yeah. Within a couple circles that I frequent, there was a lot of chatter around the lack of like representation around Gen Z, Generation Alpha.
Yep.
It was a lot. It was old. It was older. So we had Christopher Walken, we had Arnold Schwarzenegger, we had Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Well, what's your take on that?
It's interesting. And I saw another article about how both females and female minorities felt underrepresented. And I think there's a case to be made for that. And look, I'm a big believer, and I I coach and consult, and I work with CMOs all the time. I'm like, never lose sight of the fact that you have a responsibility, right? Even though some people may just think, well, it's called only marketing or only advertising. That's not the case, right? And the more someone sees a given ad, if nothing, and I'm not putting my armchair psychologist hat on, but that permeates into our consciousness, right? And our way of thinking, whether we realize it or not. So there's a responsibility not to go down this rabbit hole, but since you did, I'm going to go there, that brands have to acknowledge that the messaging they put out in any channel, and the bigger the brand, the more responsibility they have to acknowledge and be respectful of that responsibility.
Yeah. Do you feel that brands were a little irresponsible this Super Bowl?
I wouldn't call it irresponsible because that implies not to get semantics. Yeah. That implies, malicious, right? Yeah. Intent. I don't know if it was, and I'm speculating, of course, because I'm not in those rooms. Neither are you, or neither are any of us. Is it, well, this is the way it's always been done kind of approach? Is it their subconscious bias, right? And I know that's a strong word, but that's why I said subconscious of this is how we've done ads. This is how we're going to do ads. Is it the safe in their mind approach? I don't know. What I do know is there needs to be a concerted effort among big brands to acknowledge their responsibility. Agnostic of Super Bowl, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's across the board.
Across the board.
There's a great organization out there called See Her. Have you heard about it?
I have not.
They're all about making sure that ads. Procter & Gamble has it is now a requirement for all their ads that go out there that they have to reach a certain score within it, because they score it for DE&I efforts, they score it for representation. So it's a really interesting initiative that's to make sure that the underrepresented populations are being represented in advertising, in creative, right? Like,
yeah.
So it's not just the old white man.
Exactly. And I know we've kind of gotten off the path of Super Bowl ads, but that's okay. Because this is a really important topic.
It is. Okay, so what about celebrity use? Do you feel it was over-indexed, like there was just too many celebrities?
Yeah, that's a question, again, agnostic of Super Bowls, but since we're talking in the context of Super Bowls, look, the Dunkin' ad, I think, had the most in any given ad with
star-studded.
Right?
Yeah.
And I guess the ultimate proof, of course, will not be 3-6 months from now, and when the brand sees the ROI. Okay, yeah, they sold out of the tracksuit. Great. Celebrities are a funny thing.
Yeah,
in general, they really are. And I've interviewed a bunch of celebrities in my career who've worked with ads, like Michael B. Jordan, Ted Danson. I get it. I get why brands do it, to get that tie-in, if you will, to get that seal of approval from a given celebrity, and then to take their brand to even bigger heights. I don't have a standard answer. To me, it's going to come back to how is the celebrity going to benefit the brand, other than hey, the CMO or CEO got their picture taken with the, is it moving the needle?
Yeah, I mean, is it helping the business case here? And that, I feel like sometimes Super Bowl ads are just, we're going to spend money to try to shock and awe. We're just trying to, rank high on the Ad Age best ads list.
Exactly. And there was that Friends one with Uber Eats with Jennifer Aniston.
Sure.
And David Schwimmer. Yeah. I love that. I thought it was great. It was funny. It was tongue in cheek. Did they help? Obviously, none of us know until 3-6 months from now. But did their awareness go up immediately? I don't know. Do I think they were the right celebs for that? Yeah, I thought they fit.
It was very relevant, especially with the passing of Matthew Perry recently.
Exactly. So it was a good choice, I think. if you're going to use celebrities, make sure there's contextual relevance, which sounds obvious, but we both know that's not always the case.
Right.
Because then it opens the door to go, oh, instead of celebrities, how about a TikToker?
How about the creators that are creating, and you see them being used in ad, but I don't think I saw any of them in a Super Bowl ad.
I did not. I know I can't think of his name. A young guy and his dad got real famous on TikTok, and they do add,
with the New York accent.
Yes, for the razor blades.
Right. And they also did an ad for, I think, Virgin Cruises.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's something to be said for a brand partnering with that kind of celebrity, right? With enormous reach.
Yeah.
And presumably paying a lot less, but maybe even getting more reach.
Right. Especially because they are going to be so much more. They have reach on their own channels. They're going to be so much more inept to promote it and to talk about it, because it's such a milestone for them, where I don't think Ben Affleck is posting on his social channels, look at the ad I did for Dunkin'.
Right. And you see comments, people like, after last year's Dunkin' ad with Ben Affleck, like, do people really think Ben Affleck lives at Dunkin' Donuts? Right?
Yeah, he owns a couple. I wouldn't be surprised.
Exactly. And when I saw that, I kind of thought, well, no, I don't. But I don't think, the brand's smart enough to know that.
Yeah.
But the idea is to raise the awareness and get people talking about it. Right? Which I know is one of the holy grails coming out of any ad.
Sure. What you think of the Jesus ad?
Well, we had seen them before. I believe they ran last year, or variations thereof.
Yeah.
Obviously, religion and politics are always those two topics.
We had the Israel one, and then there was this one. Not sure if there were any others, but those were the two that I saw.
Me too. And it's always the fine line. And I guarantee you, there were a portion of the country and viewers worldwide who were turned off by it.
Yeah.
Right. And the other ad that you just mentioned, that comes with the territory. With those two topics are going to polarize by default. Personally, I thought the ads were fine.
Yeah.
Am I a target? I guess, because I'm a believer in Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. I can't answer if I was offended. If I wasn't, maybe I would be. So again, I think you're always going to have cynics and skeptics, like I said before. But those two topics alone, the cynics and skeptics will come out in spades versus I don't like that Dunkin' ad. Well, no. But now you take it to a different level when you're talking politics and religion.
Right. I thought the ad, the Jesus ad, was actually really well done, with the different scenes, and like it really got you to think, because you don't put these two pieces together often, and they're washing the feed. I thought it was pretty provocative, or evocative, I suppose I should say, for an ad. But you were talking religion, but you also brought up politics, and then there was the Kennedy ad. And I don't know if that was a national one or was it regional, but I saw the Kennedy ad.
I saw it too. Yeah.
It had bits of nostalgia in it because of the lo-fi-ness. Are you surprised that there weren't more political ads?
No, actually, no. I think clearly there's going to be an onslaught as we get closer to November. We all know that
for sure.
No, actually, I did not think we would see more.
I'm actually surprised to see the one. I got to be honest.
I was too. And production wise, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of his. Again, I'm not the target. But it was very well done.
What about there was another one that I wanted to bring up, and it was the apartments.com, the home.com.
Yeah.
Thought that one was actually one of the better ones, and I like Jeff Goldblum.
Yep.
But it's you see the brand architecture between the two coming out, and you start to like paint the picture of, oh, I'm getting it. Apartments.com, homes.com. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I like the homage, if you will, on one of them too. At least that's just how I took it, to his Independence Day.
Totally. It was a total Independence Day moment.
Right. So that kind of subtle / not so subtle, if you will, tie-in was really good.
Again, geared toward an older audience.
Correct. I thought the ads were, I like the apartments.com one better than the homes.com. Wasn't crazy about the guy on the field as the mascot and in the helicopter. Okay, I could live with it, but Jeff Goldblum, maybe because he's more well known,
Maybe.
and he's been doing those apartments.com spots for seemingly, for years
now, yeah.
right? He's more welcomed, if you will, into living rooms. Like, okay, it's Jeff Goldblum. I know what this is going to be for. Let's see the story they tell in this particular spot.
Yeah.
But before I forget, I wanted to bring up, I thought the NFL spot, the one in Ghana, was great. I love putting the actual, but in their uniforms.
Yeah.
With pads and all, running through the streets in Ghana, I thought that was really well done. And I give kudos to the NFL for that spot.
Did the NFL, are they the one who also did of the Eagles flying south, the Seahawks? That one was really funny. That one.
Exactly. Take the, the teams with the birds in it. I think it was called Migration.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
And I think it was for NFL Sunday Ticket. Very clever, but just simple.
So simple.
Right? Put the bird teams in the air with these, funny characters on them.
Right.
Right.
A couple minutes left, so let's bring up the pink elephant, the young lady who's defining an era, Taylor, and her influence, and I guess the big question is: do you think that if there was a longer lead time? Because again, there's only 2 weeks between knowing who's in the Super Bowl and then the actual Super Bowl.
Yep.
If there was a longer lead time, there would be a lot more ads geared towards younger people.
It's a good question. I would think so.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it again, going back to what Marissa, the SVP of marketing, told me. They were just at the ready to capitalize on it.
Yeah.
They didn't plan it, of course, despite what people think. But they were also savvy enough, her and her team and other teams, the social teams, were savvy enough to jump on that massive opportunity, right? Will we ever see it again? I don't know. I mean, we're
thing. Taylor Swift, the biggest pop star on the planet, dating a player in the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. It's like
you can't write it. You can't script it.
You couldn't. ChatGPT couldn't even script it.
No. So again, in any of the major sports leagues, will we ever see this? You never say never, right? But I think the lesson is back to what I said earlier. Brands have to be ready.
They have to empower their community management.
They have to empower the communities. They have to empower their social teams to do this. Like, again, the Oreo one, they had to act within minutes, if not seconds, of that blackout.
Oh, my God, yeah.
So I always give kudos to their team to empower who was ever manning the social media store. Otherwise, what are you going to go through 15 rounds of approvals to get this tweet approved?
Oh, fuck. You would never, right. No, you have to be, I don't know what you're talking impulsive, but you have to just go with the gut.
Go with the gut, right? And live with the consequences.
Right. And it was so brilliant. I think Taylor's influence on the Super Bowl and on everything, it made the highest viewership of the Super Bowl in decades.
Yep.
I think, in a way may have just sparked like the next generation of NFL, like on where it goes from here on, the convergence of pop culture within sports and like the blurring of line. It's always been there, but like now it's going to be even heightened, I feel.
Without question.
Social.
Without question.
Steve, this is so engaging. We do have to wrap up. How can tell everyone about the CMO Whisperer podcast and then your URLs and where they can find you online.
Yeah. So anywhere you find podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all the usual suspects, it's called the CMO Whisperer Podcast. Connect with me online on LinkedIn at Steve Walensky. That's where I primarily live. I'm not really active on X anymore.
Yeah.
Formerly known as Twitter. I'm on Instagram at Steve Walensky, TikTok at Steve Walensky. And I will leave you with this and everyone watching. And Steven, you're aware of this. My partner, Bruce Hershey, who's a former CMO of Tailward Brands, which is Men's Warehouse, Joseph Apud. He and I are working on something that will be quite unique in the marketing agency consulting world that's never been seen before.
Leaving us with the provocative statements and the big cliffhanger. Well, you just set yourself up for a part 2 on the podcast to talk about this.
I'm in.
Amazing conversation. For more on the Branders Magazine, Talking with Branders podcast, go to brandersmagazine.com. For more on me, well, you can find me at stevenbacanza.com. And until next time, everyone, peace out. Enjoy the weekend.
See ya.